I'd like to do an update on my Pacific paintings. The Pacific is dead and dying, as Durnford has shown. I'm going to connect links to Durnford. I'm going to make a quick comment about Dana Durnford as well. I want to update my Pacific and the realizations I have when I work. I'd like to first of all say that when I begin a series of paintings, they need to, obviously on the level, there are intensity levels, and in my Royal Crown cone head, the Royal Crown. The Royal Crown. This is our Royal Crown, people. Our Royal Crown. It's not yellow and black. The most beautiful color, yellow and black. I like red and black as well. The most beautiful color, yellow, has been hijacked by the Royal Crown. The cone heads that have taken over the field, that have taken the field and have destroyed or are attempting to destroy, have destroyed the Pacific with Fukushima, and are attempting to destroy all life on this planet because they're losing control. They're losing control. The internet, social media, like me, like Durnford, like Blanche, like Lonnie Clark, like McCormick, posting, Glenn Woodford, hardcore. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, in a series, when I begin paintings, I need to introduce elements that I've never actually either combined or even used ever. So part of my own development, part of my own curiosity is satisfied in exploring something that I haven't done. Now, I want to make it clear that once I release a painting into the public, it is completely endorsed and understood. What I'm doing isn't giving you a problem. I'm giving you a solution. My studio work has its levels of doubt, and I mean any artist will always have a level of doubt. But when they're on the wall, I will defend the work that is on the wall. It's not like, oh geez, I think this could be this way or that way. I'm not really sure. No. This is a definitive statement that I'm going to make on the Pacific in this work. Now, I've introduced elements. I'm actually using acrylic in this as well. And what is important, this update, and you can see in the background, you can see some of the images as they're starting to appear. They're starting to happen. So what I'm realizing, and I've been talking about this, is that the Pacific and the idea of the child is integral. It's basically the same thing. The Pacific is the notion for me of now the neglected child. This is what I've understood. I've introduced elements. I said this before, actually. I had an inkling. I actually woke up one morning after, I was sort of in a half state. I wake up in the morning and I sort of make my way to all the places that I need to go in the morning, and I'm in a half state, and I realize that this is a very important element that needs to be included in these paintings, and they're going to represent in some form or other that fluidity, that feeling, I guess, of water. The goddamn Pacific is huge. It's water. It has to do with water, and to represent the destruction of this amazing body of water. And do not listen to anybody that says it'll be fine. It's not going to be fine. Like this idiot that keeps stalking me now, this Australian guy on my videos, you can see, he's a nutcase. He says the South Pacific will be okay. Yeah. Get a life, buddy. Get a life. The South Pacific is not going to be okay because the currents, even though there is a northern and a southern current, everything will be infested with this toxic slime, this nuclear slime everywhere. So anyway, my point is that the update that I want to create is on my Pacific paintings that they have introduced. I'm introducing the Royal Crown, which is the opposite to the neglect of children. And I'm introducing elements, the children's elements. Now, I've had a response already. Some people have come up to the studio, and they're totally revolted by this, by the way. So I'm saying, okay, I think I'm hitting a I'm hitting a right nerve, because when you're looking at the art and you're looking at the art world, there's obviously a level of vulgarity and insult and over-the-top feeling on stuff, but this is hardcore, connected to something that is revolting. And what is revolting is our neglect of children. And the reason the Pacific is dying is because we have neglected children. And I'm not going to say this is difficult. I'm not talking specifically about one person. This is so misunderstood. When I make statements like this, that we don't love children, parents don't love, parents adore and love their children. The point that I'm trying to make is that if we truly feel the love for this innocence in all of us, the children in all of us, it's not outside, it's internalized. But of course, children exist as beings that need to be nurtured. But this is the child in all of us. That's why I make paintings. I recognize the child in myself, the mystery, this incredible curiosity that I feel about exploring something. I'm not going to just present decorations to you. I'm not a decorator. I'm not interested in decorating things. And there are many levels of decoration, and the closer we get to that inner core, the more upsetting and disturbing it will be, or the more, and at the same time, it may be totally uplifting. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that rise, that high that you get when you look at something. And I'm going to attach now a couple of, that's a quick update. That's the quick update. This is the connection that I'm updating people that are following me on this series of paintings, and they're included. I'm using all the materials that I've ever used in the history of my art making, from charcoal to drawing, to acrylic, to oil, to my medium, to plastic, to whatever it is that I can get my hands on. It will be integrated into these paintings because they're going to be complete in terms of my art experience as a painter for over 40 years, almost 45 years. So what I'm saying, this is updating the Pacific paintings, which are going to be based on the death of the Pacific paintings. And this is proven by Dana Durnford, who has explored the tidal pools, over 15,000 miles of exploration in his small Zodiac, a disabled person, an incredible soul of conscience out there working on our behalf to try and salvage something. We got to salvage something. We got to salvage something. And all of you people that think it takes courage to kill or to maim or to hurt, that's not the courage. The courage is to care. The true courage in our lives is to care, is to be able to care and act on that through our conscience. And what I said, intent, and intent is everything. Listen to my video on intent. Anyway, I don't want to make this too long. My update. I'm going to attach a link to an interview with a couple of women artists they call themselves the Guerilla Women, the Guerilla Girls, whatever they're calling themselves. And they're talking about museums. And they're talking about museums from the point of view that they are a rigid, calcified, boring bunch of institutions that basically have become totally homogenous of the entire Western world. What we consider to be Western, and it's now infecting China and India as well. They're producing the decorations, they're producing the work that the billionaires like the Rubels and the Margolyes and all these collectors, these billionaire collectors that basically are money collectors. They're not art collectors, they're money collectors. And I guarantee, I'm making these videos. I'm shooting myself in the foot if I ever want to have a show in a museum, because they hate people. Not actually, these women that you're going to hear, they're incorporated. They have a show at a Minneapolis, the Walker Museum in Minneapolis, and they're complaining about museums. What's the matter with these people? They're part of the system. They're part of this culture of death, but they're complaining and they're saying the right things. If you listen to this is interesting how the subterfuge works. They actually incorporate people on the fringe of this complaint. And I'm holding all museums responsible. Like the biologists that don't speak out on the death of the Pacific, the way Dana has called them out, these guys like Jay Cullen and Buessler, these people are complicit in the destruction. complicit in the destruction. Like these women talking about the museums, they're complicit in the destruction because they're saying, oh, well, you know what? Women are only 5 or 10 or 30% now of the artists. So art now has come down to affirmative action. So if you make a painting or if you make an artwork, it doesn't matter. You've got to match up with the affirmative action of women. Now, I'm not saying women are misrepresented or underrepresented in museums. Well, that may very well be, but I don't give a shit if you're a guy or a girl. If you make a painting, an artwork of brilliance, I will recognize that, or I will try and recognize that. So this complaint is superfluous, except for the fact, of course, that museums have excluded women because it's a boys' club, and they still look like a boys' club. The entire outfit. If you go to a museum in Sydney, Australia, and you go to New York, or you go to Cologne, or you go to Berlin, or Budapest, wherever you go in this Western world, and probably even China now, they all look the same. You're going to have the Ai Weiweis, these artists, the Damien Hirst, these reptiles that are reproducing the culture of death. That's what I say. So I'm going to attach a link to this Q interview with these two women. They call themselves Frida Kahlo and Kate Kolovitz, a version of it. They're invoking a couple of great female artists of the past. They call themselves the Guerilla Girls, as in guerrilla warfare, but they have suits, gorilla suits, like we're stupid, right? What a bunch of... They won't stand up for anything. Okay, women need to be represented. Yes, have it 90% women. Have 90%, have 100% women artists in museums. Fabulous. If the work qualifies, that's what I say. Not because you're a woman or you're black or you're of color, whatever it is, or you're transsexual, gay, hetero, white, whatever. I don't care. The point is the work has to be the strongest work on the planet. And we're in the age of fission. And what does it mean to be an artist in the age of fission? You don't wear the royal crown of complicity. You actually have to step out and actually challenge it. And challenge a system that has totally failed us. The system has failed us. We're experiencing the sort of, in a large scheme, what I say, when Nero is fiddling, he has married his horse. We are fiddling. What you call civilization out there, what people think is civilization, is Nero just marrying his horse. It's not working, people. It's not working. And the reason it's not working, number one, we've neglected the child. The first call, the vulnerable, have been neglected completely. And the reason we have neglected is because the reflection of that inner child no longer exists. And this is what art always in history reflected. That innocence, that curiosity, that inner child was always reflected. Now it's vulgar spectacle. You go into museums, it's vulgar spectacle. That's what we get. We get the royal crown of art. We get the royal crown. I will attach the interview with these two deranged artists that they're defending their own. I understand this, but it's got nothing to do with men or women. It has to do with the best and the most brilliant work that we can produce. What does it mean to be an artist in the age of fission? And I will also attach Dana's explanation of an interesting thing I had no idea about the Canadian justice system. It's called SLAP. It's a way of silencing dissent. It's not a matter of free speech. It's now a fear of free speech. This is what it's come down to. And I have been approached. I had a police officer visit me in the studio, and I understand what the workings are. I'm not on the front line the way Dana is on the front line, because he's actually stuck his neck out more than anyone on YouTube. Dana Durnford has stuck his neck out more than anyone, bar none. Nobody on YouTube comes close to this guy on his defense of life, of all life on this planet. Nobody. I'm telling you, nobody is even close. It can reach Durnford's activism. And he's going to awake a sleeping giant. This is they made a big mistake. The nuclear criminal syndicate made a huge mistake by throwing the book of Dana on this one. I think this is going to backfire. Well, whatever happens with Dana, there is a huge core group of people that will not give up on this fight to defend life. And it has to do with recognizing this very thing I'm attempting to do with my work, which is what always has excited me when I did shows in Europe, in the States, here in Canada. What always excited me was people gravitating toward this feeling, this inner feeling of themselves, that I've touched on something that hits their core. It's like that chord, that musical note, that feeling that something has touched you. This is why I make paintings, and this is as far as I'm concerned, besides activism on the ground, out on the streets, the art is actually going to make the difference in people's minds and hearts. That's what I think. And I'm going to introduce this element, this child element in my paintings. It's very important. God, did I go off, huh? The royal crown, yeah, people. The cone head, the royal crown cone head. And I will attach the Durnford video he did, fabulous, on exposing a failed justice system in Canada, because they're defending the nuclear destruction. The justice system defends the nuclear destruction. It's obvious. It's obvious. Wow. Salute.